Hi there guys, welcome back to the Mortal Realms. So we've got a massive catch up this week. You'll be wondering why I've got these Warcry books out. I will come back to that in a minute. Today we are having the big catch up. So I'm reviewing issues 37 to 42. My review of issue 41 already went live a few weeks ago. But I wanted to have one big video to catch up with everything. And the reason we're looking back at 41 again is that when I come to the stats of the models and that kind of thing, I'm for the rest of the Warcry run I will be for the rest of the Mortal Realms run be running through the Warcry stats for new models. I'll also be doing a catch up for previous models that have come out in Mortal Realms that apply to Warcry. So there's a good reason for that, and it's that there's so many new added leaders and allies and units and that kind of thing in Warcry. It makes sense to start including this content so we can watch that grow as well as Age of Sigmar with Mortal Realms. Now, because this is a big catch-up video, I'm going to focus less on the content. So I'll quickly whittle through and let you know everything that's in there and focus more on looking at the models. So for example, for issue 40, I have got a Knight Azeros to look at, but I also built a Knight Venator, which is the alternate build for this. So let's quickly run through these. So issue 37 was Griff Hounds. We also got a pot of Coelia Green Shade. Now, so this one we looked at, got the Griff Hounds, information on them anyway, a little look more at the Forces of Order, focusing on a couple of different factions: Fire Slayers, Kharadron Overlords, Identif Deepkin and Lumineth Realm Lords. Then we continue with our series of Bones and Blood, which I am really enjoying, and as soon as this series is done, I'll be doing a separate video just on this, because I really like the death stuff in Age of Sigmar anyway. Then a build guide for our Griff Hounds. So let's have a look at the three that we got. There was a few options there for different heads and that kind of thing. So we've got three of these. Okay. Now these were built as per the instructions for this issue. Our paint guide, which brings them up to a pretty good standard, including basing. So that's how these goes. The paint guide also caught up with some other stuff. Then we've got a tutorial for the Battle Shock phase, which for those of you who are new to Age of Sigmar and are learning the rules as we go through, it basically means that the negative effects of losing models within a unit, how that is affected in Battle Shock at the end of the fight phase. So that means that effectively, if you lose a few models, some more might get frightened away. Then we can look at our War Scroll for the Griff Hounds. So we've got a movement of 9, bravery of 6 and 3 wounds. They have the beak and claw weapons, 1 inch range with only 2 attacks per model. Hits on a 3 up and wounds on a 4 up with no rend, doing 1 damage. One of our Griff Hounds can be an alpha in a unit of 3 or more models. Add 1 to the attacks characteristic of the alpha. Okay, so the abilities are Loyal Companion. Add 2 to the attacks characteristic of this unit's beak and claws, while this unit is wholly within 6 inches of a friendly Lord Castellant or Lord Veritant. They also have darting attacks. Each time this unit attacks, it can make a 6-inch retreat move after all of its attacks have been resolved. Very, very cool. And then they have Warning Cry. If a reserve enemy unit is set up on the battlefield for the first time within 10 inches of this unit, friendly Stormcast Eternal units wholly within 9 inches of this unit can attack that reserve unit with all of the missile weapons they are armed with. A unit that uses this ability to attack a reserve unit Cannot use this ability to attack another reserve unit in the same phase. So that's very cool. And then there's just a graphic showing you what that is. Then we've got our battle plan, so assassination. The Stormcast Eternals have driven the Nighthaunts back through the forest into the ruins of Summersong. As they prepare for the final assault, all seems quiet. Okay, so this is an objective-based battle plan. We've got the Lord Executioner, Spirit Torment, 10 Chain Rasps, 4 Mimorn Banshees and 3 Spirit Hosts up against the Lord Arcanum Griff Charger, 4 Griff Hounds, which we have now, 3 Castigators and 3 Sequitors. Okay, so that's a cool one. So let's look at the Griff Chargers in Warcry. Sorry, so these guys are part of Vanguard Auxiliary Chambers and part of Sacrosanct Chambers. Their stats are they are the same for both. So they have a movement of 6 inches, with a toughness of 4 with 20 wounds per model. They have a 1-inch attack. So they do 4 attacks with a strength 4, doing 2 and 4 damage. So pretty handy actually for 150 points. Decent movement with 6, 4 attacks, which is always good, and that strength 4 is good as well. Okay, so we also in this issue get a pull out giving us some information on Slaanesh. Moving on to issue 38, we get Crawlock the Jailer and some Chain Ghasts. So information on the Chain Ghasts themselves. The battle for Brimstone Peninsula. Long and Sigmar planned his vengeance against the Dark Gods. But the Stormcast Eternals finally prepared for war. Liberation of the mortal realms could begin on the fiery plains of Akshi's Brimstone Peninsula. The heavenly hosts descended on bolts of celestial lightning. The Realm Gate Wars had begun. Okay, that's good. Then we look at the Skaven. So Skaven is one of the Chaos Gods. It's quite often mistaken for being destruction, but no, they are Chaos. Then we've got our build guide for Crawlock the Jailer and the Chain Ghasts. Let's have a look at those models actually. Now, I made a mistake with Crawlock himself in that I managed to accidentally break off the big padlock he had on that chain. And I can't find it, so I'll replace that with something else. There's that one, and then our Chain Ghasts. Oh. So very cool indeed. Then we've got our generic, well not generic, but our Nihilakh Oxide based paint guide, which gets them looking like this by the time they're done. Very cool. So Chain Ghasts and Spirit Torment. Okay, so the Chain Ghasts, what have we got? So movement of 6 inches, they save on a 4 up, bravery of 10 and 2 wounds. Just 2 wounds. So the missile weapons have got Ghast Flails, which is a range of 15 inches. They do D3 attacks, hitting on a 4 up and wounding on a 3 up. Rend -2, which is good, but 1 damage each. And melee weapons are the Ghast Flails. Is that an error? They're both called Ghast Flails. There might be a little mistake in there somewhere. 2-inch range. Attacks are the attack characteristic of Ghast Flails melee weapon is equal to the number of enemy models within 2 inches of the attacking model when the number of attacks made with this weapon is determined. All right, cool. So if they've got loads of models around them that were in 2 inches, they do an attack for each one of those models. So that's really cool. So that's hits on a 4 up and wounds and a 3 up, rend -1 and damage 1. They've got another ability, and they've also got another link in the chain. While this unit is wholly within 12 inches of a friendly Spirit Torment, you can reroll hits rolls of 1 for friendly Nighthaunt units while they are wholly within 12 inches of this unit. Okay, so that's cool. Then we've got the battle for Summersong. Deep within the ruined city of Summersong, in a temple once dedicated to the gods of order, an unholy ritual is underway. Death magic pulses from the cursed temple, seeping through the ground and infecting the jadestone-rich bedrock of the Heartswood coast. An alliance of Stormcast Eternals and Sylvaneth now descend upon the city, intent on cleansing it and returning life to the forest. Okay, so we have got Spirit Torment and the 2 Chain Ghasts up, and 15 Chain Rasps and 9 Glaive Wraith Stalkers up against Xandria Azure Bolts, the Night Questor, 2 Prosecutors and 8 Liberators. And again, this is a objective-based mission. Okay, also with this issue, we got a nice new battle mat. Which I can't unfold for you to see, but there's our standard side there, obviously with some of our scenery we've got already and are going to receive printed on there, and then the other side is this sort of standard one. Okay, so before we move on, let's look at the Warcry stats for those models. So the Spirit Torment is a leader, 240 points, so movement of 5 inches with a toughness of 5, which is very good, 25 wounds. So they've got a 2-inch attack with dealing a 2-inch attack with 2 attacks on a strength 5, which is very good, doing 3 and 5 damage. So that is very good. And the Chain Ghasts, we've only got 1 type. So that's 6-inch move, toughness of 5 and 15 wounds that cost 170. There you have an 8-inch range, dealing 2 attacks with a strength of 4, doing 1 and 4 damage. So both fairly handy. I wonder if the Chain Ghast, I suppose that 8-inch attack is good, to be fair. Just seeing other things in here. Hell Wraith and Hex Wraith. Anyway, more coming back. I'll be reviewing every single warband in these books over the course of the next sort of month or so. Right, moving swiftly on to issue 39, we've got the Cairn Wraith. So we learn about Alariel, the Everqueen. We look at the Iron Jaws. I very recently reviewed the Iron Jaws Warcry box, and I'm re-reviewing their warband from the Grand Alliance book in the next couple of days. I went through, did a brief look at all of those books along with the Tome of Champions. I won't be doing reviews for the Grand Alliance books, but I will be reviewing all of the individual warbands from there. And I am kind of doing it on request, so if you let me know, the first people to let me know, I'll schedule it in that order. So the first one I'm doing is Iron Jaws, and that will be up in the next couple of days. More about the Everqueen. The Everqueen Rises. So some story-based stuff on that. Building our Cairn Wraith, and it's a nice model as well. Very cool. I like that one. Paint guide as usual. Looking very cool. Then it's got placing terrain features, so setting up the battlefield. Until now, setting up terrain has simply been a matter of placing terrain feature models on top of the printed terrain feature on your battle mat. In most battle plans, however, players are expected to set up terrain without such guidance. The following tutorial explains several methods for doing so. So that's good. Then we've got the Warcry Stats. So the Reaper Scythe. Well, let's look at the standard stuff first. 4 wounds, 10 bravery, saves on a 4-up and a movement of 6 inches. So they've got the Reaper Scythe. So 2-inch range, and they've got 3 attacks, hitting on 4s and wounding on 3s. Rend -1 with a damage of 2. Cairn Wraith is a single model armed with a Reaper Scythe. So it can fly, it's got ethereal, ignore modifiers positive or negative when making save rolls for attacks that target this model. And then it's got Frightful Touch. The unmodified hit roll for an attack made with the Reaper Scythe is 6. That attack inflicts 2 mortal wounds and the attack sequence ends. Do not make a wound or save roll. They've also got Reaped Like Corn. You can reroll failed hit rolls for attacks made with the Reaper Scythe if the target unit has 5 or more models. Okay, very good. And then we've got the description of that. Then we have the Duel of Champions, leading us into our next battle plan. In the haunted heart of Summersong, the Nighthaunt gather around the city's grand temple. From within this foreboding dome structure, the Ghasts' ritual magic continues to pulse outwards, spreading death across the lands. It falls to Zandria Azurebolt to put an end to the threat. So this battle, again, objective based on 1 mat. We have the Nighthaunt, so a Cairn Wraith, the Guardian of Souls, the Tomb Banshee, 10 Chain Rasps, 10 Dreadscythe Harridans, 4 Grimghast Reapers, up against the Stormcast Eternals, Zandria Azurebolt, 5 Sequitors, 3 Castigators, 4 Gryph-hounds, and a Celestar Ballista. It's quite a large battle there, and they're getting bigger. Okay, and this is telling us that next issue, from issue 41, we'll be using the new map received in issue 38, the Realm of Metal. Okay, so let's look at the Warcry stats for Warcry. So the Warcry is also a leader. Movement of 5, a toughness of 5, 22 wounds, 220 cost. Got a range of abilities there as well. Movement of 2 inches with 3 attacks on a strength 4, doing 2 and 5 damage. So fairly handy, not bad. Okay, so moving into issue 40, we've got the Knight Azeros or the Knight Venator, and I'll show you both of those models in a minute. So start with the Knight Azeros, a little bit of information about them. Knight Azeros carries Sigmar's light from the celestial realm of Azir to the darkest reaches of the mortal realms. They are emissaries and diplomats as well as warriors. They are responsible for forging vital alliances and gathering the forces of order under Sigmar's banner. And then we've got the Knight Venator. So they have a bow and arrow as opposed to the sword and the celestial light. Knights Venator are masters of ranged kill. Each of these warriors is possessed of a swiftness that no mortal can match. In a single blur of movement, they can let fly whole flurries of arrows. Each volley is launched with unerring accuracy, finding the target's weak spots to bring swift death. Then we look at the Emerald Host. So they are an army of warriors gifted to Lady Olinda. So we've got a build guide for the Knight Azeros, so we'll show you that one first. And this is a great model, to be fair. Absolutely brilliant. Cool. And then we have the Knight Venator. So the model is mostly the same. Any difference is that they've got the Aether Wing there, and obviously bow and arrow. On the back, on his back is a quiver with some arrows in it as well. Whereas on the back of the Knight Venator, Knight Azeros, he carries another knife, which you can just see there. So, and when those are painted, they'll look more or less like this. So a fairly finished version of what they are. I'm sure something's got to happen to these wings as well at some point. Then we're looking at the rules for allocating wounds. So if a model has more than one wound, or a unit has models with more than one wounds in it, how you do that. And that's basically that you count wounds onto a single model until it runs out, then it's removed, and start allocating to the next one, and add to models and add wounds to single models until they run out before moving on to the next one. Now our war scroll for the Knight Azeros. So he has the Star Blade. He has a range of 1 inch with 4 attacks, hitting on 3 ups and wounding on the same, rend -1 and 1 damage. They've got 5 wounds, could be 12 inches, very cool. Saving on a 3 up with a bravery of 9. So abilities wise, they have Illuminator of the Lost. You can reroll hit rolls of 1 attacks. Sorry, you can reroll hit rolls of 1 for attacks made by friendly units that target enemy units where the enemy unit is within 10 inches of this model. So that's cool. So basically all of your allies within 10 inches could get benefit of that. So that's cool. And then it's got the Light of Sigmar. Once per battle in your hero phase, this model can use its Celestial Beacon. If it does so, each enemy unit within 8 inches of this model suffers D3 mortal wounds. Chaos units within 8 inches suffer D6 mortal wounds instead. Wow. So that is a good one. There is no war scroll, unfortunately, for the Knight Venator. Okay, then leading into the battle plan, we have Of Gems and Jade. The war for the Heartwood Coast has been costly for both the Nighthaunts and the Stormcast Eternals. As Xandria Azurebolt attempts to lift the curse afflicting the forest, Lord Arcanum Glorymantle leads his forces on an assault on the city of Summersong. And then it's got another battle. Now this one is different because it uses 2 battle mats. So it uses that reverse side and it puts 2 of our battle mats together. So we have the Knight of Shrouds, the Dreadblade Harrow, the Spirit Torment, 2 Chain Ghasts, 4 Mindmorn Banshees, 4 Glaive Wraith Stalkers, 4 Grimghast Reapers, and 15 Chain Rasps up against the Lord Arcanum on Griff Charger, the Knight Azeros, 2 units of 4 Liberators, 2 Prosecutors, 2 Castigators, and 4 Griffhounds. So these battles are getting big now. So each player is going to have to manage, well, the Nighthaunt 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different units there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 for the Stormcast Eternals. Okay, so let's take a look at their Warcry stats. So the Knight Azeros and Venator are on here. The Azeros has got 265 point cost. They're both 10 movement. They're both 5 toughness. And they're both 30 wounds. Attacks wise, the Knights Azeros, they're both leaders as well. Right, okay, so the Knight Azeros has got a 1 inch range, dealing 4 attacks on a strength 4, doing 2 and 4 damage. And the Venator has also got exactly the same melee range. Sorry, exactly the same melee attack, but also has the range attack. So that's 3 to 20 inches. So that's 3 attacks on a strength 4, doing 2 and 6 damage. And that's actually that's really cool. So it's got all of the strengths of the Knight Azeros, but gets that really quite powerful range combat. 3 attacks, strength 4, doing 2 and 6 damage. Only an additional 30 points, 265 to 295. So well worth considering upping for the Knight Venator in that case, just for the sake of those 30 points. So yeah, that's all good. So that's for the Stormcast Eternal Vanguard Auxiliary Chamber. Okay, so we're getting towards, well, we've got to the big one now, the real big one. issue 41, so the Stormcast reinforcements. So we've got lots and lots of the Prime versions of some of our models that we've already got. But let's quickly get through the details. So we've got the Lord Relictor. I'll show you these models because there's a lot of them. I'll show you them as they come up. So there's our Lord Relictor. Very cool. So this is the model in this box where the where people have been really looking forward to it. Sorry, on this sprue, people have been looking forward to it because it's only available in 1 or 2 other sort of quite expensive boxes. We've then got Retributors, which are these guys with big massive hammers. So we get 3 of those. There's 2 of them. There's the 3rd. I like these. These are my favourite models from this week. Then we have a couple of Liberator Primes. So if anyone can't remember, the difference between Liberators and Liberator Primes is that these are kind of like the leaders in your unit of Liberators. And we also have, yes, the Prosecutor Prime. Excellent, excellent, excellent model. So, get quite an extensive paint guide this week, which brings us, there's our Retributors done up to standard, along with our Liberator Primes. There's our Prosecutor and our Lord Relictor. Very cool. Okay, so stat-wise, let's quickly run through them before we head over to the Warcry stats. So our Lord Relictor, so he has got the Relic Hammer, 1-inch range, 4 attacks, hitting and wounding on 3 ups, rend -1 with 1 damage. So he has 5 wounds, movement of just 4 inches, saves on a 3-up and a bravery of 9. So abilities wise, he has Healing Storm. In your hero phase, you can pick a friendly Stormcast Eternal model within 12 inches of this model and roll a dice. On a 3-up, you can deal up to D3 wounds that have been allocated to that model. That's really cool. A Lord Relictor cannot use the Lightning Storm and Healing Storm abilities in the same turn. So the Lightning Storm is the same ability, except you're attacking an enemy and dealing D3 mortal wounds to them instead of taking D3 mortal wounds from a friendly. Okay, so our Retributors now. So they have Lightning Hammers, 1-inch range, 2 attacks per model, hitting and wounding on 3-up, rend -1 but 2 damage. They've got a 4-inch move, 3 wounds, save on a 4-up and have a bravery of 7. So they have 1 ability, which is Blast to Ashes. If the unmodified hit roll for an attack made with a Lightning Hammer is 6, it inflicts 2 mortal wounds. Don't have to make any save rolls or wound rolls. Okay, so there's no further updates in terms of War Scrolls for our Liberator Primes or for our Prosecutor Prime, because that has already been covered in previous War Scrolls. We'll come back to the Warcry stuff in a minute. Now we've got the Verdigous Plains. As Nighthaunt swarm across Shermon, the Hammers of Sigmar descend from the heavens to counter the threat and find out exactly what the dead seek in the realm of metal. So this, again, is a double mat jobby. Spirit Torment, 15 Chain Rasps, 4 Gladegrave Stalkers and 3 Spirit Hosts up against the Lord Relictor, 3 Prosecutors, 2 units of 5 Liberators and 3 Retributors. Objective based again, and although we have got a double mat, we have got reduced forces in this turn as well. There's also some little markers to cut out to use for the games there as well. And these are probably the size of a £2 coin. So for people who use things like coin capsules to protect their counters and that kind of thing, get the £2 coin ones, and these ones will fit in it. Okay, right, so let's quickly have a look at the Warcry stats for everything we've received here. Let's see how long it takes me to find them all. So the Lord Relictor, he is a leader, 210 points, movement of 4, toughness of 5 with 32 wounds. So he has got a 1-inch attack with, he's got 3 attacks for that, strength 4 doing 2 and 4 damage. Liberator Prime with Warhammer and Sigmarite Shield. Now that is both of these models we're getting here. They're posed slightly differently, but they are the same model for here. 245 points, also leaders. Movement of 4 inches, a toughness of 6, which is really good. 30 wounds. So 3 attacks on a so 3 1-inch attacks on a strength 5 doing 2 and 4 damage. These guys are really tough actually. That is really, really tough. Okay, for our Retributors, we have a Retributor Prime. He's also a leader. So he's got 3-inch movement, toughness of 6 and 30 wounds. He's also got 4 attacks with 5 strength doing 3 and 5 damage. Very, very tough. Very, very tough there. Very cool. And then our standard Retributors. So they're 195 points each. 3-inch movement, 6 toughness, 20 wounds. So they do 3 attacks on a strength 5 doing 3 and 5 damage. Very cool. So again, the big payoff there is the amount of damage they can deal out and being strong, but they have poor movement. Okay, let's look for our Prosecutor Prime. Right, Prosecutor Prime with paired Celestial Hammers. This is our fella here. So what have we got? Leader again, 280 points. 10-inch movement, 5 toughness and 30 wounds. He's got a melee ability, which is 5 attacks on a strength 4 doing 2 and 4 damage. Or he has got the same damage output and strength, but with just 3 attacks, but he does that on a 3 to 8 inch range. So very good. Very, very good. Okay, so that is that. And then we're going to finish up with issue 42. Before we move on to issue 42, I'll just say that in future reviews, when I go through the Warcry stuff, I'll include all of the abilities and that kind of thing. I haven't done it today because we're having a real catch up. But going on from the next issue, issue 43, which is a really big one. So we've got Sacrosanct Reinforcement. I will go through all the abilities and that kind of thing and do a full review of the models in there for Warcry. But let's get into issue 42. So it was a paint one. We got Pallid Witch Flesh and Calgar Blue. We also got a new layer brush. So learn more about Shaman. Shaman is Shaman or Shaman, whatever. Is a realm of ever-shifting land masses, skybound mountain ranges and wondrous treasures, both material and magical. War rages across the realm of metal as demons and mortals battle each other for control of these valuable resources. Cool. It's got Caradron Skyports. I knew it was Caradron before I'd even read it up there because I could see the name Barak Zilfin, Barak Udbaz, Barak Zon. Very nice. The Prime Inlands Part 2. At the height of the Age of Myth, mortal progress reached its at the height of the Age of Myth, mortal progress reached a zenith. In Shyish, mortal wizards bent death magic to their will, enabling them to escape the clutches and the gash The great necromancer plotted vengeance against these upstart mortals, all the while tightening his grip on the underworlds of Shaiish. Ah, cool. Now we look at the Bone Splitters. So the Bone Splitters, I think are pretty cool. So I like the Bone Splitters a lot. In fact, I did a video quite some time ago when Warcry first came out. This was the cheapest warband you could have built. In fact, it's a really good idea now. You can go and buy a box of Bone Splitters for about 22 quid. And it gives you most of the options. It actually gives you all of the options from the original Bone Splitters warband. That's since been expanded on with the new books and that kind of thing. So there's a lot more new models and that kind of thing to go in there. But certainly if you're thinking of starting a Bone Splitters Warcry army, you can't go wrong with that starter box. Sorry, you can't go wrong with that Bone Splitters box. They're seen as wild as the Bone Splitters are seen as wild and unpredictable even by their fellow greenskins. They are orcs who have lost themselves to the furious energy of the great green god Gorka Morka. Bone Splitters' weapons are often made from stone as it is easy to find and use. Okay, so then we've got real concentration on paint this week. So we're doing some layering, it appears, with the Calgar Blue and with the Pallid Witch Flesh on some of the cloaks and that kind of thing. It's doing some layering with lots and lots of different colours, and then some highlighting with the paints we got today. So that is cool. Wow, big paint update. Then it's got command points tutorial. In Warhammer Age of Sigmar, players have access to a resource known as command points. These command points can be spent during the battle in order to activate special command abilities. This tutorial explains how command points are gained and how to keep track of them in your games. Okay, so that's cool. Then we've got the battle at the Ark. Having encountered the Night Haunts on the Verdigous Plains, the Stormcast Eternals track their foes to Sigyorn, a land rich with magical treasures. The Night Haunts have been seen near the broken Storm Vaults, known simply as the Ark. The Ark must be secured. Okay, so we're back to a single map, although it looks like we've got quite a big battle going on here, especially for such a small map. So we've got the Knight of Shrouds on Ethereal Steed, the Guardian of Souls with Nightmare Lantern, a Cairn Wraith, Tomb Banshee, 4 Maimon Banshees, 5 Dread Scythe Harridans, 4 Grimghast Reapers and 15 Chain Rasps, up against the Lord Arcanum on Griff Charger, the Knight Azeros, 5 Liberators, 5 Sequitors, the Celestar Ballista, and 3 Griff Hounds. We've also got a whole load more tokens to cut out, this time for command points. Okay, so we've got no Warcry stuff to look at from there, but we certainly have a lot more coming up. So issue 43, which I will review on Wednesday the 17th. You'll probably want, I'm actually recording this at midnight on the 15th. So you'll probably see this if you catch it on the first day on the 16th. So much later in the evening in the UK time, issue 43 review will go up, and it's a great one as well. We have got ballistas. We have got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different models. So yes, look forward to that one. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like the look of these books, they can be ordered for Element Games or from Goblin Gaming. There's a link in the description for both of those. If you do use those links, they'll give me a little kickback, but it won't cost you a penny more. But it will really help my channel keep going and keep bringing you new content. On that front, I just want to say a massive thank you to everyone who has been using those links. So for example, I've got some content coming out in the next couple of days, which I would not have been able to do without your support. And indeed, I certainly wouldn't have these books without support in that way as well. So a huge, massive thank you. It really means a lot to me. So thanks for watching, guys. Like and subscribe and all that good stuff. And I'll see you very, very soon.